People, deluded, I'm back again. And you know, in life, sometimes like with strikers, you can go on a goal drought and then you score 2 goals. You know, we've been missing for a while on my channel and his, and now we was on Curtis's channel yesterday. We're here today. How you doing, Curtis, man? You good? Were you on?
I'm good, bro. Sometimes you gotta let the people wait for it a little bit, innit?
Trust
You know,
me.
they don't want to say, yeah, good to be back, man.
Oh man, and it's so interesting your choice of green screen with Aubameyang and Lacazette. I want to ask you about Aubameyang, about Villa in a sec, man. But let's jump straight into it. People, please make sure you hit the like button. Please make sure you're subscribing to my channel and obviously Curtis Shaw TV. Can't imagine you're not subscribed to either one already, but make sure you're doing that. I want to ask you something straight away, Curtis, straight off the bat, man. Really and truly, obviously, you know already, but just so the people them know. Before we get into it, this is basically what I'm going to ask Curtis today. But first and foremost, I wanted to ask you about the red card incident involving David Luiz and the fact that, you know, you've seen Ben Yedder or whatever his name is. Apologies, I got rid of you there. Apologies. But yeah, like I was saying before I took you out, you know, Ben Yedder never got his rescinded. We never got the lot with David Luiz. What do you feel about it? What do you feel of the incidents? And I don't want to do the conspiracy thing, but do you think there's an agenda against Arsenal with the FA?
It's a tricky one because I was reading up on some stats and they were saying that over the last 18 months since VAR's been in the game properly in England, we haven't actually lost that many points through VAR. Apparently, I know there are incidents that could have led to us gaining points, i.e., you know, Sadio Mane could have been sent off at Anfield.
Lacazette ruled out against Leicester, if I remember right.
Yeah, so in that sense, yeah, maybe. But agenda, I think, is a little bit far because there are a lot of other teams. You know, I know Liverpool have lost loads of points through VAR. You know, I see a thing that Wolves could have finished 3 places higher last season if it wasn't for VAR decisions. So it's affected a lot of teams, but ultimately when it affects your own team, you feel like there's something going on. I do think we struggle getting decisions. You know, certain times things happen and I'm like, all right, no problem. They'll go VAR and check it and they'll just ignore it. And I'm like, hang on a minute. I watched the Man United game and there's cameras all over that. So I do think there are levels of favoritism for certain teams, you know. I feel like Liverpool, Man United, these kind of teams, they're like an institution in English football. So I think sometimes, you know, even the pundits, you hear the way they talk about Liverpool, Man United, it's like they're the holy grail of English football. With Arsenal teams like that, it's not quite the same, man. But yeah, the David Luiz incident, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because the rules kind of say that it is a red card, even though common sense sort of tells you it's not. So I think they've got to look at the rule, really. I believe they've changed 2 rules this season, the handball and the offside rule. So I think they're going to have to look at this rule again, man. It's a bit cloudy. There's too many grey areas there.
That's what I feel. You took the words right out of my mouth, my guy, in the sense of there's too many. You said it perfectly. There's too many grey areas. It's like David Luiz might be sent off for this. The same thing might happen next week in literally the same incident. It's not a red card. Then we hear the jargon on Sky Sports as to why it's not. You bring out 2 referees, one saying it is, one way it isn't, and it upsets the fans. It confuses me. I personally feel not necessarily VAR, but I feel the FA is against us. Arsenal fans are always going to feel that, but I see too many decisions. It's like, even I can't remember the exact categories, but when you even look at the discipline, like the way we're judged to another party is quite harsh. And I do think the tags of, like, when you look at David Luiz, I think who David Luiz is, it goes against him. I also feel when you look at it, you know, they look at Arsenal as a soft touch, and it goes against us, really and truly. It doesn't help us at all. Do you feel, because we kind of spoke about it, is there, away from the incidents, do you feel Luiz is hard done by? What do you feel about it in relation to that? Is it a mistake? Is it fundamentally David Luiz being out of position? What do you reckon in relation to that?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it yesterday, but I think David Luiz, first of all, is poor defending. Because we're so caught up in the red card, it's kind of been brushed aside, the fact that, you know, 2 minutes into added on time, one of our centre-backs is 10 yards out of position trying to win a header in the middle of midfield. He then gets caught out of position and costs us a goal if he sits back and allows Thomas Partey to challenge. I don't think that goal happens. But then, you know, 10, 15 seconds later, the incident occurs. Of course, we're going to feel hard done by. He makes no attempt to win the ball. And as Mark's saying there, I do think the reputation's gone against him. But that happens in football, and that is, without sounding harsh, that sort of becomes your own fault. If you do something over and over again, you're stereotyped for that, which is harsh, but that's the reality. David Luiz makes more mistakes than most defenders. He gets sent off a lot.
Like Xhaka's stuff goes against him as well.
Wilfred Zaha, when people said he was diving, there was times he was being fouled. The referee's telling him to get up because of what he's seen previously. So David Luiz has caused that reputation. Having said that, VAR is there for that reason, that if the referee does that and say, oh, it's David Luiz, it's a red card, VAR is supposed to say, you know what, I know it's David Luiz, but the facts are he hasn't caused a red card offence. But it's difficult because the rules say it's a red. So as much as I'm saying he hasn't tried to get the ball, it's not a red. The rules state it is a red. Whether we agree with that or not, which we don't, it is a red. Some people saying it's not a penalty. For me, it is a penalty.
It is a penalty. It is a penalty.
As a defender in that position, you can't run that close to him, behind him. What can you do? He's only going to make contact with you. As soon as you make contact, there's a decision to make. You've almost got to run at the side of him. So it's harsh on David Luiz, and common sense tells you it shouldn't be a red card. But the rules are there, unfortunately, man. I'm more angry with VAR than I am with Craig Pawson, to be honest. I think VAR is more at fault than the ref.
See, I'm angry with the ref because I feel regardless of that, he has a history of being poor against us, and he was poor in that game. I'm angry with David Luiz, not for the red card, it's gone against him, but just like you said, fundamentally, he's out of position. You stay in position, it doesn't happen. That being said, as we know, we spoke about on your show, Partey and Xhaka could have done better. Holding could have, read the play. What do you make of this comment? He said, I don't think it's Holding's fault. I don't think it's Luiz's fault. Sorry, Holding let Prudence turn and pass. Now, I don't necessarily agree, but what do you make of that?
No, I don't agree. Just because once Willian Jose is making that forward run, I don't see how Holding can go to the midfielder and leave a striker on the run. His danger is the runner. What I felt was when they got closer to the edge of the penalty area, I feel Holding could have closed the gap between him and Willian Jose. He makes the ball very simple. Just roll it through that big open space where I feel he could have closed the gap and given him a more difficult pass to play. That was kind of my issue with Holding. He was square on as well. His body position was all over the place. So I think Holding should have done better at that stage. But obviously, ultimately, David Luiz has exposed him in a 2-on-1 situation. So, I mean, both of them defenders. I mean, Rob Holding's having a decent season. Do I think Rob Holding should be Arsenal's centre-back long-term starting? I don't think so. I think as a squad player, fine. But, and again, I said this yesterday on another show that I did, is that David Luiz getting suspended, obviously it cost us the game. So, I wish it didn't happen there. Even though David Luiz is in good form, and I think when you're playing well, give him an opportunity to keep his place. I would much rather see Gabriel in the team than David Luiz. David Luiz ultimately is a player that I think we should be moving on in the summer.
Not new contracts and them things there.
Because you know what's going to happen, bro. If David Luiz has another 5 good games, he'll get a 1-year deal out of nowhere. They do this all the time. El Neni went to Old Trafford, had a great...
Everyone pulled their pants down, talking about new deal and all of this stuff already. It's ridiculous.
We got to get ruthless with these guys, man. Thank you for the form. We've got too many ticking time bombs in our club.
Hot and cold players.
He'll give you 4 good games. You'll start gassing him. He'll get sent off. He'll make a mistake. Hector Bellerin, even Lacazette to a certain extent, he has these purple patches of form. So we got to get ruthless with it, man. So, but back to the point, Holding, I think he should have closed the space. He made the ball too easy, I felt.
Even with David Luiz, you mentioned that, even if I look at his last 3 games, I think that shows why he shouldn't be given a new deal. Colossal against Manchester United, but the United game sandwiched in between, forget the red card. He just made a stupid reactionary part of defending and got sent off. Southampton, I think he was actually poorer than Wolves. I just think Southampton, he was moving very stupid. So that's 3 games, a 32-year-old, you don't know what you're getting. Like you said, I understand, certain players not getting back into the team and all of these things because of the form. but Gabriel's back in, man. You kind of touched on it, so it brings me up to another thing. Was Gabriel running the risk of becoming a forgotten man? Like, why do you think specifically he was out of the team? Because it feels like there's a bits and pieces. And remember, he came in against Southampton in the FA Cup. He was a bit off the pace.
I felt with Gabriel, I mean, I think he got player of the month 2 or 3 months in a row. I felt with Gabriel towards just before he came out of the team, he had a couple of games where he showed a few weaknesses. I think he's a little bit rash sometimes. He wants to
very raw
all the time. And ultimately in football, it's not always about the best 2 centre-backs being the best partnership. I remember an interview I watched with Vincent Kompany where he was talking about Jerome Boateng when he came to Manchester City. Obviously, Boateng went on to win Champions League, World Cup,
lots of stuff,
become a top. And he was saying that the 2 of them just didn't really connect as a partnership. They didn't read each other very well, despite how good Boateng was. And he said when they signed Jolie and Lescott, they clicked straight away. The left foot, right foot, they kind of covered each other. And Lescott isn't a better defender than Boateng.
So just about complementing.
It's about complementing. And when I watched Gabriel and Holding, I think Gabriel was having good games individually, but I don't think him and Holding is a great pairing for some reason. I just don't see them as a great partnership at the moment. Holding looked better with Pablo Mari. He probably even looked better with Luiz. I even think Gabriel looked good with David Luiz as well. So I just think that rashness in his game, obviously Gabriel's been sent off as well this season. He's had a few yellow cards.
I swear it was against City. I mean, it was against Villa as well. So this is a game I need you to learn from your mistakes as well as Bellerin and that 1v1, Gabriel.
Yeah, but listen, Gabriel's had a little spell out of the team now. I'm sure he would have had a lot of time to think. And I think now for him, come back in the team, stamp your authority now and become the top centre-back at Arsenal now. That's what I want to see with Gabriel. Go and get that Brazil call-up and, be a little bit calmer in play. Yeah, develop now. He's been in the country, over 6 months now. He should start having an understanding of the game. I've heard him talking on social media in English. His English seems to be getting a little better now. So you know what this league's about now. And Holding's been pretty steady. So, let's hope that those 2 get a bit of a partnership. Obviously, Pablo Mari's nearly back as well. So for me now, David Luiz should be going to the back of the queue, really.
I agree with you, but I'm slightly different. It's like I think it's a bit like Partey, where I don't feel we have a levels partner for Gabriel at centre half. Like, I know Gabriel is rough around the edges. We knew a bit of that. He showed it against Aston Villa. He loves to dive in, but I don't know, man. I think I see your angle with David Luiz, and I think one thing David Luiz has over Holding is obviously that level of communication in Portuguese. He's slightly more experienced. As crazy as David Luiz can be on a football field, he tries to bring it out from the back. He tries to somewhat kind of coach people through the game. So I understand that. But for me, I'd just prefer Gabriel and Holding, because the one thing I like about Holding, he does weird stuff sometimes, but he kind of has more self-awareness than David Luiz. David Luiz just has these brain farts, Holding can be very reactive. But his brain fart, I can't deal with it. Like, I don't know what I'm getting every game. I might get the Man United David Luiz, the one that didn't train and bossed the final against Chelsea, or you get this one. I can't think it. I think we can both agree, though, that neither are levels. And I like Marie as well. I like what he's done. He's doing what he needs to do. But at the end of the day, I haven't seen enough from Marie. It's no fault of his own. He's just got a look in. So maybe it's something to be said in terms of a centre half. Obviously, you've got Chambers on the books. We all know, where that one's probably heading. Saliba, I want him to come back next season and have more of a go. But is he going to be second or third choice? Only time will tell. So, man, I think one thing that shagged Gabriel is, like you said, I think he's when we've kind of improved defensively as a system, there's a bit of form, there's a bit of stability. He weren't in it. He was almost like a firefighter, like Koscielny. It's like he's looking good as a defender, not because he's not a good defender, but because he's just dealing with everybody's mess. So I would have loved to have seen him come into here. So if you had to say right now, where do you rank the centre halves? It can be in terms of ability, in terms of current form and where you're at now. Where do you rank them if you was Arteta? And
I think I still like Gabriel. I still look at Gabriel and think you can become a top level centre back. It's going to take a little bit of time. Like you said, even last season in France, he played next to Jose Font, experienced player, would have probably been guiding him through the game. I just think you probably need an experienced defender next to him rather than him being the leader. I don't think he can be the leader.
Yeah, he's not there yet.
I would still say Gabriel's, for me, I would still say he's our best centre-back.
Head and shoulders, bro.
I would. I think, you know, he's had months that we haven't seen from the other player. When has Rob Holding or David Luiz got player of the month? You just don't see it.
Consistently, bare. I swear he got it like 2-3 months in a row.
Yeah.
Now that tells you how bad we were. But if a man can shine and stand up when we're playing poor, then when we're in form, you need him. It's like you said, man. He's a bit raw, can be a bit rash. You know, you'd expect half of this from a 20-odd-year-old. And that's why, for me, even if Saliba comes back next season, I would like that sort of bridge player. You know, do you believe that could be Marie? I know a lot of people are all for Gabriel, Marie. A lot of people turn and say, oh, it's 2 left footers. Where do you stand on that?
The 2 left footer situation doesn't bother me that much because we've seen many great partnerships with 2 right-footed players. So I don't think it's impossible. I'm still not quite sure on Pablo Marie. I think he looks steady. He has looked good. I've liked what I've seen of him. But I'm not at that point yet to admit and say he can be our main centre back in the period. If I'm at the stage now, I'm looking at it probably saying Mavropanos, you sell him in the summer. I would sell Callum Chambers, David Luiz. I wouldn't give him a new contract. The only circumstances I would give him a new deal if I was Arteta is if he took a significant pay cut and he was willing to be 4th, 5th choice as just somebody.
It's a voice in and around the club.
An experienced player, and apparently he's a good leader. For me, I think Arsenal have to sign a centre back in the summer. I still think we need someone mid-20s and a leader who understands, you know,
just gets it in it.
Just gets it. Yeah, I still think we're 1 centre back short of what we need. So but Pablo Marie, time will tell. Maybe we've unearthed a bargain, but I'm still not sure. I need to see him against some of the top level strikers more before I kind of put judgment on him.
Facts. And I like you said, I like Marie. I think him and Cedric have done all right. I think Marie's earned a place for this, like in the squad. I think if I was centre halves that are not up for sale, it would be for me Saliba, Gabriel, and Marie, the 3 kind of newish boys. I like him. I think he can be used in the squad. Because he has not played that much really, I think we need to be wary with him drawing conclusions on him. We don't know his true level. I like how he reads the game. He's got a good pass. I like players that kind of know, how do I make it make sense? They know their pay grade. Like you never see Marie doing things out of his jurisdiction. He knows what he can and can't do. The only problem I see is a lack of pace. And I think that was shown to a degree against City. And then obviously he had a bit of a brain fart for the penalty against Chelsea and we got away with it. But that's why I'm not sure if he can be first choice. This commenter said, the point is we lost the match because of the red card, though, not because of Luiz's poor positioning. We could have still won the match from 1-1 with 11 men. You're not wrong, but why can't 2 things be true? Why is it always got to be one single truth? Why couldn't we? I do believe we could have won the game with 11 men, but we may not have. There could have been a reality where we didn't take all of these chances and Wolves did. You know, we didn't kill the game in the first 20 minutes when we should have with 11 men. So could have, would have, should have. These are all valid, my guy. I'm not saying you're wrong. Facts are we lost. We did lose because of the red card because it took us down to 10 men. You're saying if it stays the same with 11, if Luiz is, as Curtis said, if Luiz stays in his position or doesn't vacate that, there's no red card. We have 11 men. Maybe we do turn it around in the second half. I guess we'll never know. We'll just never know. It's as simple as that. Like, you know, and going back to the centre halves, this is, people said the best. Tierney said the best combo. He's talking about us. We're not centre halves, but it's conflicting. You know, you got Finian saying I would honestly start using Pablo Marie and Gabriel. Mark is saying Holding and Gabriel, and I'm pretty sure, you know, people are saying we played David Luiz due to offensive passing ability. Says more about our midfield that we need a centre back to help us offensively. Slim, that's a fact. What do you make of that? Because I think that's bang on the money. I think that's bang on the money.
I think if, and he makes a good point, I think if you've got midfielders who demand the ball constantly and get on the ball, you're not desperate for a centre-back that is, you know, a great ball player as such, you know. But I think the problem with us, and I see it too often, is that you see our centre-backs on the ball with no option, with no short option in midfield. Thomas Partey seems to want the ball a lot.
And it took them a couple of weeks to even start playing it to him.
There you go. You know. How often do you see David Luiz come out with the ball and put both his arms out as if to say, "Yeah, who wants it off me, bro? No one's showing for it."
That's what I feel bad for them, because it's like there's no movement. How can you pass the ball as poor as you are?
There you go. We haven't. Let's be honest. We've never replaced Santi Cazorla. We've never replaced that deep lying playmaker who keeps things ticking. And I think we've struggled without that. And this is why I still think, despite people bigging up Granit Xhaka, and Xhaka has been decent the last few games, there's still a need to upgrade that midfield.
Take it away, my guy.
There's still the need. Don't get caught up in form, man. These guys have 4 or 5 good games, but they've let us down for years. I read a stat: we haven't qualified for the Champions League since we signed Granit Xhaka. The two, that can't be coincidental. That since he's come into our midfield, that we've struggled. We haven't made the top 4 once. So
that's it.
Listen, we need an upgrade in the summer.
That's the thing, bro. For me, major surgery. And I don't want to, we'll touch on the January transfer. We might as well go on to that. Now, obviously, I don't want to sell myself as the dream of Arsenal, because we got rid of hella players and all these things. We're going to do the business. For me, myself, I think we need a midfielder. We spoke about it on your channel. I don't feel when Partey's there that we're levels, and I don't think when Partey's here, he has a certified partner. So I'd like a 6 and another guy like Granit Xhaka. I see why Granit Xhaka plays. He does have some strengths, but I just feel we need someone that can do better than that, someone that can do it with less time on the ball sort of thing, or we're always going to be in this situation. What did you make of the January window? Like, would you give it out of 10? Are you rating it? Is it just, it is what it is? Did they surprise you? Where are you at with the January window?
It was like a recovery window. It was like you did work you should have done 6 months ago. Having said that, I will give Edu some credit, because apparently in that summer window, he didn't have full control. At the start, it was Ralstonelli, and Edu came in midway through. So this is his first transfer window to himself. And I will give him credit. He was ruthless. Arsenal could have done at Arsenal and just said, let Ozil run down the contract, man. Just, they actually had meetings and said, listen, what's it going to take to get you out the door? And I do respect that. They got Socrates out, they got Mustafi out, got Ozil out, got a few of the young players out. Kolasinac gone. Obviously, with the incomings, all right, as fans, we all wanted to see that big signing. We all talk about Man United when they bought Bruno, it transformed their season. We probably weren't going to do that. You could see that a lot of big clubs didn't really spend any money in the window. I think Odegaard was probably quite a shrewd signing on loan. I just hope it's not another Denis Suarez, a lightweight player that doesn't get a lot of football, that you're kind of wondering, why did we take him? Hopefully he does well. Matt Ryan was needed because we needed a backup keeper, but let's just hope he's fit for the weekend. So it was an all right window. It's not a window I'm going to be celebrating and bigging up, because ultimately it hasn't really improved our starting 11. So I can't say it was like an 8 or 9. You did what was necessary. It was a 6 or a 6 or 7 at the most. Like, you just did what needed to be done in terms of players going out. So I can't give it nothing more than that, really.
Facts. I like Realist P has said there's 206 of you watching. Please make sure you're hitting the likes. Let's get that to 100. Make sure you're subscribed to the Mandem's channels. It's like what you said, Curtis. It's like I'm torn on 2 minds, because on one hand I rate it in it. I did not see Ozil and all of these players, being moved on, and I kind of rate that. That's moving like a big club. You're not getting your agent's not sorting nothing for you. We don't want you here. Cool, we'll take the bite. We'll bite the bullet. Give you whatever's left of your contract. We keep it moving, and it sets us up. And it also means we save a couple of bob from now to the end of the season. So I respect it. And obviously getting in Odegaard on loan, it's a loan signing, but it's kind of punching for what we expected. So I do respect it. I do rate it. And like you said, the young players, Saliba's found a good home to get game time. Joe Willock and Maitland have found game time. Obviously a couple other things didn't happen. Now I look at it and I'm like, is it really? Because on one hand, it's not that I'm criticizing it or rating it. It's business as usual. Like, if you want to be a professional footballer, should you be praised for going outside and practicing your kick-ups or your weaknesses? Or is that a basic sort of given? So when I look at it, we're reacting, like you said, we're reacting to what we should have done in October. We didn't bring in someone like a 10 like Odegaard or a more creative sort of midfielder to play with Partey. We're looking for it now. We sat on our hands with Ozil and all of these guys, and every press conference we were saying another thing about these players can go or stay. We now got rid of them. I don't think you can get a transfer fee for Ozil, and even Mustafi. But some might say 28-year-old, could you have got something for him? So it's very reactive. So it's almost like, and at the end of the day, the landscape, there's still a lot of uncertainty because right now, I don't know if we're going to get any European football. Technically, 2 midfielders in this team are loan players. Then you've got Xhaka, who's probably going to be here, but if something happens, he could probably be moved on. You've got El Nene's contract. You've now got Joe Willock, who's probably got a future out on loan. Mate, Torreira and the same. So it's like there's uncertainty. And also, I think there's a bit of unfinished business. Obviously, Balogun didn't deal with that. Nelson didn't get a home. Obviously, I'm not really fussed about a backup left back per se, but if something happens to Tierney and whatnot, we might say, oh, Cedric shouldn't really be used there. We need more of a natural. So I'd give it a 6, maybe a 7. 7 for the Ozil, getting rid of Ozil, really. But I'd probably give it a 6 personally. So I'm with you with 6 or 7s, really.
Yeah, man. We did what we needed to do. Like I said, I'll give Edu and Arteta some credit for getting players out the window. I see a lot of fans are excited saying, we're going to have a big summer. We've just saved 600,000 in wages. But I think what they got to remember as well is we need transfer fees as well. And that anytime there's a situation that the board will use that. So, we're in a pandemic, it will affect it, but it won't affect Chelsea. It won't affect Manchester City. It won't affect Manchester United. If they need to buy someone for 70, 80 million, they will do it. But Arsenal will say, we've only got 50 million to spend. And they need to be ruthless this summer because I see a lot of players at Arsenal that you can get money for that should be moved on this summer, i.e. Hector Bellerin, maybe Lacazette, maybe even Granit Xhaka. I believe you could pick up 15, 20 million each player there. You chuck Torreira in, possibly Guendouzi, although I'd think about bringing him back, but it depends on his attitude. Callum Chambers, El Neni. There's players there you can get rid of this summer and maybe make 60 or 70 million on top of the transfer budget. So I want to see Arsenal get ruthless in the summer because they're going to be playing catch-up and we don't even know if we're going to be in Europe next season. So
that's it.
We're going to need to make that money somehow.
And that's why, for me, I look at it, and that's why I want to see more of a proactiveness with our transfers. And 2, I don't really care about, what other teams can do and things. Because like you said, and I'm sure you're equally as frustrated in the sense of, the Grealishes, these sort of man, we can't go for them. But why can we not scout players? All the household names we talk about, they had to come from somewhere. Haaland, he had to come from somewhere. Like he was in Norway at a sec. You had a chance. Yeah. Can we do more due diligence with that? So I like that we're moving in the right direction and there's a clean slate. But I really need to see, or I can't see it, but I want to know or have hope that we're doing the due diligence. We're dotting I's and crossing T's going into the window. I don't want it to be reactive because when I look at the vast majority of our recent signings, as you know, it's difficult to sign players because you've got to make them available. I don't think we make players available. We've gone for Matt Ryan. He's got a couple of months left on his deal. He's been dropped second choice against Brighton. So we're going for someone like that. And also you could say that's reactive because we've gone for Runnison. We've kind of been left with him and he's not level sort of thing. So I just want to know that we've got plan B, plan C, plan D, etc. targets because like you said, we don't know if we're getting Europe. We hope so. We'll still have a chance, but we might not get it. Yeah. And then so we got to be able to react to that. And if we're meant to be self-financing, surely our homegrown players have to make money for us. Maitland-Niles potentially be sold. What do you make of Maitland and Joe's loans respectively as well while we're on that topic before I forget?
I like Joe's loan. I think Newcastle's a good loan for him. I've always felt with Joe Willock, there is talent there, but the final product, the decision-making is not there at the moment. And I believe Joe hasn't been on loan before, has he? I don't think so.
No, man's first loan, breaking his V.
Yeah, I think this is a great loan move for him. If he can go to Newcastle, score goals, it puts his value up. I think he probably does have a future at Arsenal. I get the impression they will bring him back. So for him, thumbs up for that one. With Ainsley Maitland-Niles now, I feel like, number one, I felt it was desperation from him to play. I felt he just thought, anyone in the Prem that will play me centre mid, I'm going there. I think Arsenal have done him a little bit dirty in the sense that we could have sold him to Wolves in the summer. That would have been a good move for him. Also, that money might have got us Aouar in the summer, because they said they didn't have the money. So why didn't they sell him? We then kept him for the season, haven't played him. Apparently, he could have gone to Leicester. Arsenal wouldn't let it happen. I mean, he probably was frustrated with that one as well. Apparently, he turned down Southampton because they didn't guarantee him game time in the middle of the park. So he ends up at West Brom. I don't personally think it's a great loan move for him because I think they'll get relegated. I think they'll probably finish bottom of the league, to be honest. Sheffield United beat them the other day. I think they'll finish above them. Does he get in the England squad playing for West Brom? Maybe not. I don't know. It depends how much.
Justin looks like he's taking that place right and left back now. Boy,
yeah, there you go. And then if Arsenal want to sell him in the summer on the back of a poor loan move, instead of 20, you might be getting 10, 12 for him. So it's a bit of a. I would have liked to have seen him gone to a better team, if I'm honest. I think West Brom is a pretty poor loan move for him, although he will see the positive in just the fact he's going to play football. So let's hope he comes back. But I get the impression I'm not sure he'll play for Arsenal again, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, man, I personally agree with you, man. I think this is to put him in the shop window. I do think Arteta likes him, and if a madness happened on loan, he'd be there. But I think this is the beginning of the end. He's just recently changed agents. It is what it is in that regards. I like it because, you know, he could have looked at it and said, you know what, West Brom, relegation, not in London. I'm kind of cool here at Arsenal, sort of thing. I'm not playing, but I'm cool. He could have just stayed. So I agree with you. It stunk of desperation. I do think it's not really going to help his England call-up chances, like you said. I want to be wrong. I think there's a lot he can learn, though, because like I said on your show yesterday, whether he's playing right back or in midfield, he's typically like us. We play against low blocks. He's going to have to be that low block. And a problem for him is concentration. Whether he's going to play in the middle of the park or at right back, he's going to need to be concentrated for 90 minutes. So I think that helps him. There's no spotlight in it. Like, there's no, Bellerin always gets to start. This always happens. Why ain't he used in midfield? Go out there and prove it now. You know, it's down to you. You're 23 years of age now. They don't care that you're an Arsenal footballer. You're just a player that's trying to help them stay in the league. So go and show the thing. It's as simple as that. I think you made an interesting point about Leicester. And I think as much as we love Maitland, it kind of shows where he's at in the sense of he's been linked with Wolves and he could have went there in the summer, which we both agree should have done this thing. He's been linked with Leicester and obviously Southampton. Now, I think he'll be a good squad player rotation option for them. But currently, does he get ahead of their right back or left backs? Does he get ahead of their midfielders? I can make a case for it, but I don't necessarily believe it. So I could understand a bit of reluctance there. I just feel it's all a bit of a mess because clearly there's something Maitland-Niles is or isn't doing, and clearly Arteta isn't necessarily being fair. What do you where do you more stand? Do you think it's more Arteta giving less chances or Ainsley not taking them? Where would you stand if someone had to push you to it?
I think even though I think Arsenal have done him a little bit dirty, I think Ainsley's got to look at himself because ultimately he's 23 years of age. What is Ainsley's best position? We're not too sure. Maybe wing back. He had a whole year of Hector Bellerin being injured. He could have nailed that right back spot the same way that Trent did at Liverpool. Klein got injured. Trent was a midfielder. He went to right back. He's now one of the best right backs in Europe. You know, Ainsley could have nailed that right back spot and he never did. At 23, you know, I think football now is so tactical that you have to specialize in something and
then deviate. Yeah. And
then you can deviate. You can't be here saying, well, I can play right back, I can play wing back, but I like playing in midfield. But, you know, where do you play?
Be a master of one.
Yeah, you've got to be a master of one. So for me, I think Ainsley, you know, at 23, the development has been too slow. I think he's had enough game time.
121 games for Arsenal. Now, it's not all been 90, but it's like Joe, 70 odd times for Arsenal as well. We need to see what these players are about because it depends what Arsenal fan you talk to. Some man will say, Ainsley, like us two, for example. You might say, Maitland-Niles, give him a chance in midfield. I might say he's a right back. It's like what you just said. He's 23. He needs to specialize. Are you a fullback who's able to play in midfield, or are you a midfielder able to do a job for us at right back? You know, because I feel I feel Bukayo Saka's emergence has put pressure on a lot of players. I think it's kind of showed Reece Nelson, you were the guys meant to do this thing. You ain't done it. You know, Saka's played all about the place. And while we don't want him doing that, he's locked it down. That's Maitland-Niles. And we all know previously with Pepe and right now with Willian, for different reasons, whether it's experience or big money signings, he's putting bare man to shame.
100%. I mean, look how much hype there was around Nelson. Everyone was saying he's gonna, you know, nail one of these spots out wide, and he had all this hype around him. Saka's just come in and said, "You've got no chance. This is the level right now." You know, I'm really surprised Nelson didn't go on loan because
What do you make of that?
I'm shocked because I actually think he needs the loan more than maybe the other two players because we're overloaded with wingers right now. You got Aubameyang, Martinelli who can play on the left. You got Pepe, you got Willian, you got Saka. Obviously, Pepe can play on the right. I don't see Nelson getting a kick the rest of the season. So I know there was rumours that he rejected loans at the start of the season. But you would have thought after 6 months and looking at it, you've hardly played. You would have thought he would have been like, listen, just get me out somewhere for 6 months. So I'm shocked that they've kept him. I don't really see the point of it. I would have definitely got him out on loan and given him a chance. I would have even possibly let Eddie go out on loan as well. I think if Balogun had signed the contract, I might have seen Eddie go on loan because, there's this rumour that they won't play Balogun until he signs a deal. So, that one there, I think Eddie could have gone out as well. But I was a bit surprised they let Ainsley and Joe Willett go because
because it leaves us light in terms of bodies in theory. That's why I thought Joe might be the one to say, let's stay. Like we all know, you've been very vocal. Joe needs to get game time. But I thought, you know what? We've been on a long road in terms of injuries already this season. On the best of days, we're kind of light in midfield. So I thought Joe might stay, maybe Ainsley in the luxury of him being able to fill in. So it's kind of left us short. And in true Arsenal fashion, that might come back to haunt us sort of thing. And like the goalkeeping business again has.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, if we got you got to think now in the middle of midfield, we've got Partey, Xhaka, El Neni, Ceballos. That's it, really. 4 players. You
can force Smith and Odegaard, but they're not natural.
They're more like 10. So Ceballos has been injury prone as well. All of a sudden, if you get Partey and Xhaka or injured, you're down to the bare bones. So we got to wrap our midfielders up in cotton wool. So yeah, it's an interesting one that we made them decisions. But moving forward, we need Thomas Partey fit for the rest of the season.
Really played 90 minutes too tough. Wasn't the last what was just the other day? He played 90 minutes for the first time for us. Madness.
It's crazy. You get these players at Arsenal who, you look at their record and it's they haven't missed a game for 3 years. They played 2 games for Arsenal and they're limping off. I don't get it. I remember Merson said years ago that Arsenal's training is not physical enough. And he said...
And they break down in that when they play.
Break down, because the difference between training and the games. And that makes you wonder when Arteta's talking about Kieran Tierney saying that, he's training too hard and too physical. Is Arsenal training the problem that they're too soft and then they go and get injured in matches?
But didn't we hear I hear what Merson's saying, but in the flip side, wasn't that said with Arteta? The way Arteta's playing, there's going to be injuries, and there was comparisons with Klopp, and I think even Emre the same. I don't know what it is, man. Maybe it's our medical staff. Maybe it's the way we're doing things, because I think we've been a bit naive with people's injuries. Just to circle back on Nelson, what do you make of Nelson from now to the end of the season? Because reality is he's still here in it, and he's rejected those loans. In December, he did look like against the Rapid Vienna times like he was coming to say something. And I hope he will get chances because he can play across those 3 positions on the left, on the right, and in the cam. We all would like him to get more of an opportunity than Willian. Do you think there's game time to be had here? Can he prove Arteta wrong, or is it this is it now, isn't it? Because he'll have a year left on his deal come summer. There is a decision to make.
In theory, he's wasted a whole season this year, really. A couple of Europa League games where you thought, all right, I can see a little bit there. Nothing's happened. I think at this age, at this football club, you can't afford to waste a season. Now, at the start of the season, maybe he felt like, I don't want to go on loan. I want to be in front of the manager and wait for my opportunity. But this time now, I think he should have forced the issue and said, you know what, I've got to go on loan. Maybe the right loan option wasn't there for him. Maybe he wanted a Prem club. Maybe
just sent him Championship.
There you go. Maybe he looked at the Championship and thought, that's not going to help me. Maybe, he sees Joe going to Newcastle and thinks, I should get a Premier League move. But if the clubs weren't there for him, I think at the moment, would you give Nelson a new contract? I'm not
because
sure.
I'm a biased young player for our young players. But it don't really make sense. Really, someone probably looking at, can you get a 15 or something and a sell-on clause? Really, now the way he's moving. But I would want to.
It's a shame because I did think there was something there, but every time I've watched him, I thought, you know what, he's quick and that he's a bit lightweight for me. And again, I think he needed a good loan spell. You know, it's no coincidence Smith Rowe has a successful loan spell, comes back, and things start clicking. You know, and Nketiah had a poor loan spell. Nelson had a poor loan spell in the end as well. So, you know, Saka's a one-off in the sense that
that man there just wants to play
straight away. I don't even need a loan. But yeah, it's a shame, man. It's a shame. I would have liked to have seen Nelson go out, get 20 games. Even if it was in the Championship, you're going to learn a lot about yourself.
You still have to be consistent every week. The games come thick and fast.
Yeah, so I think, you know, we don't know the exact details, but I think he should have definitely gone out on loan in January.
Facts. I see I got a super chat. It's not letting me scroll up, but big up the opinionated Gooner. He said, big up you guys as usual. Thank you very much for your kind contribution, my guy. Thank you very much for that. Man said, do you remember when Wenger used to use Reece at wing back? Yeah, in the Europa League, and I think against United at a point. And then in that stage, he had the chance where he had a game against Watford and he didn't do so well. I think with Nelson, it's a belief thing. Away from everything, clearly needs to be more consistent. You know, decisions have to be better. All of these things. I think it's a belief thing because when he played against Chelsea at home or Liverpool at home, I saw a different player. You know, when he was coming into his home against Rapid Vienna, I saw a different player, and I sympathise with him. But at some point, he's got to lock it down for himself. And I would say I'm a bit disappointed with Arteta in that regards because Reece was the one I thought, he's going to put his arm around him. He trained him with the academy and all those things, and it hasn't transpired. Now, if Arteta thinks thinks that Nelson isn't doing something on the training ground, I can't fault him. You know, the language that came out of Arteta's mouth was, I've kind of made it abundantly clear loan is the right thing for you, but you back yourself. And I think that goes for several of them young players. You back yourself, fair play, innit? I think Smith Rowe could have been the one that gone out on loan. You know, it's only he's only played 4 or 5 or so games. You know, if we go back to November, where was he? Sort of thing, or just before that. Credit to him, but this is what I mean by people need to allow it. You know, for me, the academies need to be self-financing fundamentally. You know, I want all these young players to make it, but if they're not going to make it here and they're going to hit it off elsewhere, decent fee, sell on clause. It's as simple as that, you know. And I do remember that, Jay. I do remember that, and I was quite surprised how good Reece was in that wing back role. In the same way, I thought Joe, because to my knowledge, ironically, Joe in the role I don't think he's capable of in the first team in that 10. In the academy days, he was doing that. Then under Arsene Wenger in the Europa, I see him playing box to box. I'm like, hold on, he's a bit more mature than I thought he was. So yeah, I do remember that, man. I do remember that still. Man are saying, what's the feeling if Balogun ends up at Liverpool next season? What do you make of that, Curtis?
It wouldn't surprise me. You know, it wouldn't surprise me. Klopp, as you said, man, Liverpool, they've got this reputation now that they can get young players, and if they don't make it there, they sell them for good money, man. They took Solanke from Chelsea, sold him for what, 20 million? You know, Jordan Ibe came through. They make money off these young players. So if Balogun ends up at Liverpool, it wouldn't surprise me. I would be very disappointed with it. But the longer it goes on and he hasn't signed the deal, you know, it makes you think it's not going to happen. But we'll have to see. You know, maybe they're just trying to figure out finances and things like that.
That's it for me. Like with me, I've got a small bit of hope that it's a finance thing. It's just, you know, we're gonna get there. But I've accepted he's gone in it. I would have even tried to get it done in January, try get something, because now we haven't got no negotiating power. You know, he can do what the hell he wants, sort of thing. It is what it is. You have to hold the L. You've got him. You've got another young player called Kiddo Taylor Hart also running down his contract. Whether he makes it here or not, I'm not here to say he's this and that. I think he's a good player. But it's the practices of this football club. Chelsea don't. Obviously, there's occasional, you know, Jamal Musiala contract ran down, went to Bayern Munich. There are cases, but Chelsea don't let it get to this level. You know, you look at it. Why we're going to lose Balogun for me is because of August. You know, you look at all his peers, the John Juleses, the Smiths, them and whether they're midfielders or whatever, they all went out on loan. Balogun's here. That gave me the vibes. I said it then. It's like he's just going to wait out this season and keep it moving. Why would you sign? Because at the time there was a couple other strikers more here. It's not making much sense for me, anyways, man.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the academy and using what they've got, everything to me said when that West Ham link for Eddie Nketiah came, I was like, do the deal. 15 or 20 million for Eddie Nketiah with a sell-on clause. Snap their hands off. Give Balogun a new contract. The academy's doing its job. That's what the academy's supposed to do. So I think even when you was talking about Nelson there, I think there's just he's fallen into a traffic jam in your life where you've got Pepe right wing 72 mil, you've got Willian just signed, Saka's ended up on the right, which has also made it harder for him, you know. So I think even with Nelson, if you can move him on in the summer and get 10, 15 million with a sell-on clause, then the academy is doing its job. As you say, not every player ends up in the first team as a regular player. So I've still got that hope that we keep Balogun because he could have signed for somebody by now. He could have signed a pre-contract.
Is he taking that? I hear that though, but is it a case of that, or is it like you're assessing all your options? Because I can imagine someone like Balogun, everyone and their nan's gonna want you, but when you go through them, you don't just want to get into a building because of your talent. Is there a pathway sort of thing? I think we have a chance, but I've given up, bro. I think it's gone, fam. I think it's over. Like I think it's gone, bro. I want to be wrong. I want this to get clipped up and say you're moving mad, deluded. Curtis try to tell you, but I think like I don't like to do this storyline thing. Like I think he's gone. Like I don't want to be begging man to stay. I just want to like kind of move on from this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it doesn't look good. Let's be honest. You would have expected it to have been done by now. I don't think he's been in the first team squad since last year now.
A minute.
So yeah, it's not looking good. It's a shame. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've said this before. He could end up becoming a Chuba Akpong and Ali Adir, where he just kind of fizzles away.
Big up Chuba though. He did his thing at Middlesbrough.
Yeah, he done his thing in Greece and that. Yeah. But, you know what I mean? But on the flip side, we always have them Gnabry nightmares, man. So you just never know with these players what they're going to become. So for me, it's a no-brainer, man. Give the kid a new contract. You know, he could save us a lot of money in the summer. Everyone's talking about if Lacazette goes, who we're going to buy. If Balogun blew up between now and the end of the season, you ain't got to buy no one. You know, so, yeah, it'll be interesting.
And that could also be extra money to slap towards whatever. Because I'd imagine if I think it's very unlikely, I want to be wrong, that you could secure Odegaard's future permanently, or you're going to make Ceballos for different reasons permanently. That money could be flipped and do other things with it. Would you give another chance for Callum Chambers? You know, I did feel like my man here, Jens, has said, you know, I don't mind Chambers being part of the squad. Like, again, Europa League, probably 5th choice centre half. I don't think he put a foot wrong really before his injury. That being said, he's a bit like a Maitland-Niles in that he's a jack of all trades, master of none. Not really nailed down centre half. Not really going to get a look in there. Right back, he can do a job. I'm sure you remember what happened against Swansea a few years ago. Yeah. He went on loan to Fulham. Yeah, he went on loan to Fulham and man started playing in midfield. So it shows his versatility, but we didn't send him there to do that. So it's like, where you at with Chambers? What's your feeling on Chambers? Does he get a look in for you between now to the end of the season? And beyond that, what's your feelings?
First of all, the right back thing, for me, he can't play at right back. I've always said before, I think right back is the hardest position to play in the defence in the Premier League, because I don't think any league has got better left wingers than we've got in the Premier League. You know, Zaha and Mane, Sterling, Son, you know, they're lethal. Right backs get exposed.
Might even catch Grealish out there a couple times.
Neto, you know, all these teams, bro. There's problems on the left. And, you know, Chambers for me is not a right back. I think he can be a decent centre back as a squad player. I don't think he's ever going to be a first choice. Let's put it that way. I don't think he's developed enough since he signed for the club. I don't think he's much better than when we signed him. If you're keeping him as 4th, 5th choice, Europa League, squad fodder, as I call him, then yeah, but he's a man that I could see getting sold in the summer. The only thing that might keep him there is with this Brexit thing now, you've got to have a certain amount of English players. So they may just keep hold of him. He was doing all right before the injury, but he's nothing more than a squad player for me, if I'm being honest.
That's it. It's just a squad player. And then it's like you said, I don't mind him staying and being part of it. But then I look at it, it's like we've got nothing to do with Chambers, but it's like in isolation, that's cool. But that same sentence you said about squad fodder, bro, we can look around the whole 25-man squad. There's better man like that. Also, so you've probably, and also what, is he contracted until 2022? So there is that. You have to give man a new deal sooner or later. Surely it's not making sense.
No, I wouldn't give him a new contract, man. I think you've got to move him on. If his deal's got a year left in the summer. There's no way I'm giving him a new deal. He's had a bad injury as well. We don't know. I mean, is he going to get in the team much between now and the end of the season? I'm not too sure, really.
Anything can happen, but no. Where do you see it? You know, David Luiz, again, whether we rate him or not, he seems a trusted member of Arteta's thinking. Gabriel is Gabriel. Marie's played his way into the plans. Holding's, you know what? He might, Holding had one foot out the door. Maybe Chambers can do that because Arteta seems to rate him. But I just think Chambers is going to do up the Maitland-Niles thing from now to the end of the season. You're just that body, like, because you're quote unquote versatility sort of thing.
Yeah. No, and I always say this, man. Emmanuel Petit, although sometimes he says crazy things, he says,
madman.
He says some mad things, but he said Arsenal is a club where if you stay quiet for long enough, you just hide in the shadows. And, I think he's bang on with that. You know, a lot of these men, they don't say nothing on social media. And
it's quiet, innit?
And they just at the club for years, bruv, not doing nothing. So me, I'm on the point now, yeah. If Edu and Arteta are on this, ruthless thing, then Chambers, for me, move him on in the summer. He's a player that he's never going to be a top player at Arsenal. So what are we keeping him around for, really? I think we're going to...
Sorry to cut you off, my guy, but how many players, because I just want to ask you, how many players, if you're Arteta, no circumstances are you sold? Like, you are central to my 2021-22. How many are you there? Because for me, I've only got about 7.
What, that you're keeping?
Yeah, no circumstances you're staying. Like, you're staying. Part of my plan sort of thing.
I mean, thinking about it, Leno, of course, Gabriel, Holding's going to be there. I mean, I'm not the biggest Holding fan, but he's going to be there. He's just signed a deal. Tierney will be there. Cedric will be there. Again, he's on a long contract. Saliba comes back. Pablo Marie will be there as a squad player. Then I'm looking at Thomas Partey is the only centre midfielder. The rest of them, I would happily move all of them on. Smith Rowe, Saka, Pepe, Aubameyang. That is probably it for me. Every other player, Bellerin, Xhaka, El Neni, Lacazette, Willian, all of them. I would get rid of every one of them at the right price. All of them.
But it's for me as well.
Hard window.
I fully agree with you. Even for me, I'd probably skip out the Maries and the Cedrics out of that because it's not that I wouldn't include them. It's like offers come for you lot. I'm kind of entertaining it. Plus, I don't really know you man's level to be throwing you in there with it. It's like even Pepe and like you said with Laka, it's like for me, under no circumstances, Saka, Martinelli, Tierney, Gabriel, Leno. Yeah. And I probably missed out somebody that you've said. That's what I said. There's probably about 7 for me. I'll keep Pepe in that. Lacazette could probably stay, but again, it's like you said with the contract. Are you selling Lacazette like devil's advocate? In a bit of form now, a year left. Someone might think, I'll have a bit of Lacazette, or do you run his contract down?
It depends on circumstances because number one, you have to replace it. You can't just sell it. So. You've got to go and get someone else. Who do you go and get? I mean, I was talking about this yesterday. Obviously, Memphis Depay is out of contract in the summer, but he's not a big goal getter in that sense. People talk about Edouard at Celtic. I think his price would be reduced because Celtic aren't even going to win the league. So you may be able to get him. There's, Danny Ings, there's no real standout name. That's my only problem. Edouard's doing it in Scotland. How good is he? We're not sure. Depay doesn't score as many. Ings is 28 and you'd get the Premier League tax on him.
And English double whammy tax, double tax.
For me, what I've seen, I would probably go for that Odsonne Edouard. He's French. He's played in Scotland. It's a physical league, so at least he's got that side of it. And I think what he would cost, you could probably get that for Lacazette. I wouldn't get, Lacazette's 30 in the summer. He's on 150 grand a week. Am I giving Lacazette a new deal? He's going to probably want improved money as well. I don't know. If he rips it up between now and the end of the season and we win the Europa League, at the most, I would maybe give him a 1-year extension. That's the most I could see. There's no way I would give him like a new 3-year contract or anything like that. So at this moment, I would probably say move him on, but you've got to get a sufficient replacement.
Facts. And this guy, I was just, definitely not Messi. I would love Messi, but not Messi. I was just thinking this, but he's beat me to it. Zapata would be a good signing. I don't know how he would form his form from Italy over to England, but I think he'd be a decent signing for the money. For me, it's bang on what you said. Like Lacazette and Lacazette's party, you're trying to get 3 years minimum. You know, Arsenal let's do it 2. I don't think he's signing a 1. You know, for me, as much as I like Lacazette, he ain't got 20 league goals. Again, you know, there's no matter how you shape it, that's the minimum I need my striker to get. We can talk about hold up play, relieving pressure, winning fouls, all the things that me and you bang on about Lacazette. But should I praise that? On one hand, I should. But surely these things are a given. It's like when we praise midfielders at our club for working hard. You know, surely you should have an engine. You should have a work rate. It's like, what's going on?
You know what's crazy? I'm thinking, like, can we move Aubameyang central? You know, he is a striker naturally, you know, or Martinelli maybe. Can we find the solution?
I think that is it. For me, I think Martinelli is the striker long term. I feel personally, Balogun's left, it is what it is. You know, Aubameyang, again, he's always going to have legs for now, but I think with his age and stuff, surely you've got a slightly tailor, the way you're playing. So can we move him centrally, especially if you've got Pepe and Saka are going to score goals? But crucially for me, we'd have to play to his strengths because we know Aubameyang, he's not got that sort of link-up play like Lacazette. So let's focus on movement and create consistent movement. I think that's where he would benefit. But apart from that, I'm not too sure, man. And it's a difficult one. Like you said, with the striker thing, we'd have to almost be taking a risk. There's not too many confirmed guys that we could say you're going to come here and do this. Like Lacazette was a risk. You know, there was a number of years we was linked with the Donny. We never went with him. And then maybe some of the reasons why we see with the gold drought right now, everything's touching gold. I don't want to forget about this, my guy. So I want to share this with you. You know, I did make it the, what do you call it? The title of the video. Scrolling back up quickly. My scrolling skills are poor. I'm moving like an old man. But as you can see here, Willian doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. And I'm here with the most perfect guest for this. You know, I'm going to read it to you. Tell me your opinions, man. David Luiz says Willian doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. We all know the lack of goals and whatnot Willian has. But as you can see here, my guy, few people know the person Willian, but those who do know can't say that they don't love him because everybody loves him as a person. That's great. He's being a lovely person. I want a lovely footballer. But he said everyone knows the player Willian and everyone knows Willian's potential. And he doesn't have to prove anything to anyone after so many years at the highest level. And he's in a moment which is not so pleasant on an individual level because things are not happening. But he's an experienced, intelligent guy who knows what he should know and what he must do every day. You don't see Willian murmuring about in training. You don't see Willian not training. He's always dedicated. He's always looking for the best to improve, to grow. You don't see Willian with an ugly face on the bench, all those things. So he's a guy who will get through this. He'll get through this moment and he'll still bring a lot of joy to Arsenal, to this club, because there's this turbulence just as I had in the first few months. You still got that, right, brother? But it's gonna it's not easy. Bro, I don't know what he's on. What do you make of that opening statement from him before I read the rest? What do you make of that?
I mean, first of all, it's his boy, isn't it? He's going to defend him. You know, you're talking about him on a personal level. I'm sure he's a great guy, but we didn't sign him for that. Listen, I think it's a collective. Number one, we signed a 32-year-old at the back end of his career. And what you don't want a 32-year-old to come into is chaos, you know. He walked into chaos at Arsenal. So it wasn't like a set system and everything's set and this is how we want you to play. Willian's getting the ball, putting crosses in. We ain't got a striker who can head the ball. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what are we asking the guy to do? Obviously, on the flip side, we know that Willian has not been good enough. You know, he's been nowhere near good enough. I don't think he's even scored one goal since he's been.
He's living off the Fulham game on the start of the season and maybe that little assist for against Wolves for Gabriel.
There you go. I mean, listen, ultimately, I do think the fans need to calm down with him, though. You know, I think it's fine to criticize his performances.
It's a scapegoating thing now, isn't
it? A lot of men are really going in. I'm seeing him getting like abuse from fans, or he'll give the ball away once on a watch along and everyone's hammering him. I'm like, bro, man, other players have done that 5 times. Like, let's judge him as we judge everyone else. You know, he's being harshly criticized, but at the same time, you know, he's been a terrible signing. Let's be honest. And And the 3-year contract just leaves a sour taste in everyone's mouth, man.
That's it. Like you said there, I agree. I shouldn't really have anything to add, really, because you said it there. You know, on one hand, I like that David Luiz is backing his boy, supporting it. I don't agree with Willian even being in the squad, but I like that people are rallying behind him. No, I like that they're rallying behind him because that's what you do. Your brothers in arms. You know, I agree with what you're saying. It's become cool to just draw out Willian and put all the pressures and problems of Arsenal on Willian. So I get what he's saying with all of that. But for me, to say he ain't got nothing to prove, come on now. You've always got something to prove. That's you know, I don't care when I'm hearing language that he's won this, he's won that, and the other. I don't care about that. I respect him for winning that, but that's why your expectations are harder. You should be rubbing off that pedigree. When you're thinking, if you was to not know anything about football and look at that squad and you say, who's the guy who's 32-year-old and won the Premier League or who's worth 72 million, you're saying Bukayo Saka, who's, you know, in terms of experience, he shouldn't be talking to you, you know? So I don't agree with that. That's almost like Arsenal are doing him a favor, him being here. And obviously with the contract business, it's a madness. But I do like that he does back his boy. He went on to say, though, as well, supporters on one side who loved you are sad because you left and are nervous. Supporters on the other side who cheered against you are like, I'm not going to like this guy who came from the other side. There are fans like that, but I'm sure if Willian was putting in performances, no one would give a fuck, really and truly. He's just shit. That's the part of my language. That's the reality of it. You know, I'm not even going to read the rest, but he's went and big. I'll leave it for the people up there to read. But yeah, man, what do you make of all of that? Because I like that he's finally rallying behind him. And I think, like Arteta, David Luiz has told me how good he is in training. I'm sure everyone's bad in training. You know, I've done interviews with Arsenal young players and they tell me El Nene is sick in training. El Nene is wavy. So, and they tell me other things as well that are good positives. But all I care about is the football field. All I care about is you doing the job, and I don't see it. Where's it gone wrong for Willian? Is it all him? Is it down to the tactics? Is it the confidence? He looks like he's shot on confidence as well. And you made a great point earlier about tactically he's putting crosses in for no reason. That is going to harm you no matter who you are. What is it for you with Willian?
I think it's a collective of the two. I don't think the system suits him, if I'm being honest. I do think he's a man that needs a guy who's good in the air. Willian likes to put crosses in, and you know, last year he had Giroud. I said, "What have you done for me lately, yo?"
Underrated man. Only the coach would get that one. Big up,
we don't care about what you did at Chelsea, bro. We need to. So I think what David Luiz has got wrong there is saying, you know, he doesn't need to prove himself, because in football you constantly have to prove yourself. You know, it doesn't matter what you did at Chelsea. We need to know, what are you going to do at Arsenal? What I'll be interested to see is whether he can kind of fight his way through it, because Mikel Arteta, as a manager who signed him, can't sit back and just say, Willian's washed. Your job as a manager is to get something out of him, even though he's playing poor. I was desperate for him to score that goal against Man United, because I thought that could be the turning point for him. And I actually thought he played all right in that half.
No, he weren't shit.
The missed chance is what like everyone will focus on. So with Willian, I still think he'll get to a point where he can be a useful squad player, because I still think he's a talented player, but I don't think he should be this guy who we're starting on a
be in this squad.
He can't be a regular starter in the team. He needs to go down the pecking order. If you're bringing Willian on for 20 minutes at the end of a game,
I'd rather get that Nelson, man.
But if you're starting him on a regular basis, none of that. He needs to step up big time, man.
And obviously, when a player signs for your club, you see them in a slightly different light. Like I only knew Willian, the Chelsea man, but you pick up on his mannerisms. And as I always say this, innit, I don't rate Willian, I don't rate Xhaka, I don't rate Bearman in this squad, but I want everybody playing well, because I'm an Arsenal fan. It's in my best interest. Like you said, we're overloaded on the wings, so the more players playing well, the bigger problems there are. But fundamentally, it doesn't look good, because again, you know, if he was wavy, the 3-year contract looks good. You know, this is a big contract. I don't see any exit clause or any way out of this if it hasn't worked for us, or if it doesn't work for us because of the contract. Are you gonna pay him up? You know, if you let's just say we were doing this ruthless thing and we got to the end of the season now and we said, you know what, Willian isn't levels, we're getting rid of him. You're going to pay up his contract, in which many people won't criticize, but a year from signing him, again, it would tie into our poor problems. And I think fundamentally, you've got this here, my guy. You know, he's taken 22 appearances, he's still not scored, and he's got 3 assists. 2 of those assists are the first game of the season. You yourself, because you do content, how long has this season been? And we're only in February, my guy, just about. And he's not scored. That's everything to prove for me. That says it all.
That's terrible. That's terrible. And you make a great point about that exit clause. It's another Mkhitaryan. In fact, it's even worse because he's older. He's got more time on his contract. People saying we need to sell him. No one ain't buying him. No one ain't buying him. He's on a big wage. He's out of form. He's 33 this year. The best you can get is getting him out on loan, if he even wants a loan, because apparently he wanted to stay in London. He's got his restaurant there. He might say, you know what, I'm cool, man. Yeah, my family's there. I'm chilling, man. I'll sit on the bench and pick up the wage, man. I don't want to go on loan. David Luiz is there. I'm calm. So they've stitched themselves, man. And you know what? I'm not even going to lie. When we signed Willian, I got my head around it and tried to see it in a positive light.
We all did.
What my issue was with that deal, as soon as I heard it was 3 years, I said, I would have walked away from it. I would have walked away. You're giving me Willian for a year, I could have got my head around it because we would have been letting him
even a 2. I wouldn't, but even a 2.
Yeah, even a 2 I can get, but 3. The man's going to be 35 at Arsenal. He looks finished at 32, bro. Imagine when he's 34, 35. So you know how this story ends, man. Next year, we'll probably still have him. And then they'll be sitting down having the same meetings they've just had with Socrates and them saying, how much do you need to leave, man? You know what I mean? Same old problems, bro.
Different Doug, same old problems. And it's like that as well. I remember when Willian signed, I'm sure he was saying how Arteta said he needs him to get Champions League. If a man is saying he needs you to get Champions League and they're talking about your pedigree, you have everything to prove. And I think David Luiz, you've got stuff to prove as well. It's like, don't act like, obviously we ain't won the Champions League and things like that with Chelsea, as much as it pains me to say. I don't want to say if they're a bigger club or not than us, but don't come here like you've got a divine right, like we're doing you a favor. You know, it's a relationship of mutual interest. It's like you said, it's like I don't really see a point to prove, really and truly. I'm not really one with the age thing and whatnot, but I don't get it with Willian. Like I don't get it. I don't see maturity. I don't see intelligence. I thought he would come here and be someone that can play on the left, on the right, in the 10. He's not that. I just think it's an uncomfortable elephant in the room. And obviously Pepe's done well the last 3 games, so it looks all right. But at one point we had a 72 million pound player not playing, and we had a 32-year-old not playing, and now it's just that 32-year-old. And I think his development, you know, if we maybe Pepe always needed whatever Arteta's been doing to get to this. But imagine we gave Pepe this opportunity from the start. Where would he be? Yeah. Imagine if Nelson got this game time, potentially, where would he be? Martinelli's been on the bench since he's come back. Where would he be? It's like, I don't understand these experienced players just cop blocking everyone else and they're essentially not doing anything. It's mad. It's absolutely mad.
Well, this football club doesn't learn, I'm afraid. Like, we keep signing these players from Chelsea, and you know, not one of them has been a success. You know, I don't think Cech was anything special. Luiz has not done anything really. When have we actually gone to a big club and pulled a player out of there that is like they are desperate to hang on to? You know, we've had players taken out of our club: Ashley Cole, Van Persie, Sanchez. You know what I mean? We're going and taking these man's leftovers that they don't even want to keep. So
we're taking half-bitten chicken legs off people's plates when they're not looking, and that is dead.
Having a little bite and that. Like, what? I don't know what they're doing, bro. So they need to stop moving like that. I said that in the window. Arsenal are sitting there with their hands out saying, what have you got to give me on loan, man? You know what I mean? That's not how big clubs operate, man. But again, that this is the bigger picture of the owner, innit? You know, if we had Man City's owner, if we had Abramovich as the owner, I'm sure we'd be moving a lot different. But yeah, Willian for me, nothing more than an impact player, and I think it'll probably be here next season as well. But I reckon by the end of next season, they'll be trying to get him out on loan or paying him up, man.
Another 7-8 million. What do you make of this? Willian did have a better impact in the United game. I think this guy's saying. Then Emil Smith-Rowe, not defending him. I want him to gone too. I'm just saying. I see where you're going with. I agree. I think Willian was all right when he came into the frame. People were getting onto him for no reason. defo don't agree with that though. Smith Rowe's pressing was evidently better. Statistically, it's there as well. I'm not too sure I agree with that. What would you make of that?
Nah, Smith Rowe still had a decent impact. I remember he had that shot that De Gea saved. His pressing was good. He was getting between the lines. It wasn't one of his best games, but I still think he was decent. I thought Willian did okay when he came on, to be honest, but missing that big chance. And when the fans are on your back, they're not going to forgive you for that. I hope he has a big moment, because as you said, whether you like a player or not, whether you like the manager or not, as I always say myself, they're in our football club. We want them to do well. So I hope Willian, scores a banger from somewhere and it turns around his season a little bit, because he's our player at the end of the day. So, the more good options we have, the better.
Because the way he's moving, I can't lie, he's the most beneficial thing he could do is probably sell that hair some Brazilian weave or something, man. There's bare hair shops in Finsbury Park, because that's all he's looking good for right now. It's like Donny said as well. Coincidentally, I didn't even see that comment, and he said the same thing. Willian's got a lovely set of hair. I'm sure there's some ladies out there that could do with that, but that's all he's looking good for, man. It's all he's looking good for, bro. Obviously, to wrap this up, let's go through the game, man. So obviously we've got, obviously we've got Villa to come. What have you made of our recent couple of games? Because it feels like you ain't been on there for a minute, man. Last couple of games, where you at as a fan?
Do you know what? It's mad, yeah. We went on that run and it was like, we're turning things around and we're climbing. And, you don't look at the table. And then when you look, you go, we ain't moved nowhere. It's like, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, we're still 10th. And we've been unbeaten for like 7-8 games. It just shows how bad that November and December was, that we're winning games and we still haven't climbed the table. But listen, it is progress. I've been critical of the manager and I still stand by a lot of it, but I'm starting to see shoots of improvement from him. Even that first 45 against Wolves, we bossed them off the pitch. We should have actually won the game in the first half. I think the Man United game, considering the players we had missing, I would have took a point. At the start of the game, when I saw that lineup, I said, this could be a long game. So to get out of there with a point, and we created a few chances, I thought that was good. Before that, without sounding disrespectful, we were beating teams that we should have beaten. We beat West Brom, we beat Brighton, we beat Newcastle, we should have beat Palace. The Chelsea game was probably the one where you can say we beat a team that, was on form at the time, although the manager's gone. So listen, I'm seeing improvements in the manager. Do I think he's the right man? I'm still not fully convinced. What
improvements are you seeing, right? Like specifics, if I just to push you, what was you have concerns and he's doing all right now, or what still concerns for you? Where are you at?
What I think he's beginning to find the balance a little bit better now. So before, I used to watch games. I mean, you do watch alongs, I do. I'd be sitting there till half time going, well, I know nothing's going to happen in the first half because we come out and just play mad slow. Now we're actually coming out of the traps, against Wolves, 45 seconds, one-on-one. Against Southampton, when Lacazette got one-on-one in the first 3 minutes, we look like we've got a purpose now when we
against Wolves as well.
Players are starting to play better as well, Smith Rowe's balling, Saka, Pepe's in probably the best form he's been in since he's been at Arsenal now. Lacazette's starting to link up properly. We're attacking well when we're saying, boy, can Aubameyang get in the team this week?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I am seeing improvements, but the thing I always revert back to, facts are facts. And the facts are we are 10th. We are out of both domestic cups.
We might not get
Europe. That, for me, is not acceptable at a club the size of Arsenal. So while I praise him and I can see the improvements, we still are where we are. So I'm somewhere in the middle at this stage. So, let's see where he finishes the season.
That's like me. Obviously, I think I speak for you as well. It's that first and foremost, we'd love Arteta to be spoken about with Pep and Klopp and doing all of these wavy things, and we still think he could do that. We want it to get it well. We don't want our manager to do badly. The problem is that really, like Curtis said, is that We haven't. It's not that we haven't learned anything. Personally, for me, I think Arteta, the biggest thing, you've gone back to basics. You're playing man where they're supposed to play. You're playing your best players. You're playing your informed players. You're kind of giving them freedom in the attacking third versus just crossing. I like that. I still think there's same concerns. One thing, the luxury I'll give Arteta, I don't think he can. When David Luiz, he might, whether he's sent off or not. These things are happening. This happened 9 times. Maybe it's down to him. I think it's down to the players. You can't account for those sort of things. So I think the jury's still out. Still got concerns about playing favourites. Still want to see more evolution. I personally think we've defended greatly and improved greatly defensively. But I still see us a bit open and stuff like what against United, against Southampton. We did what we needed to do, but we're still kind of open. And it's like what you said. Fundamentally, we're 10th. Right now, it looks good because we're 10th. Mathematically, we can still get there. We're still on paper in the Europa League and mathematically can get Champions League spaces. But we're out the FA Cup, which we know that was our ticket into the Europa. We don't know if we're going to make the Europa or Champions League squads. I hope we advance to the latter stages, but we've got to deal with Benfica first. And last season, we fucked it up against Olympiacos over 2 legs. So suddenly the whole dynamic can change. Obviously, we drew against United, which isn't bad, and we've lost against Wolves. If we don't get something on Saturday or whatever, the mood and the sentiment starts to change, as I'm sure you'll agree.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Football can change a lot in a week. We've had this great run, which is a lot improved, but then we've drawn with United and lost to Wolves. And then obviously we got Villa on the weekend. All of a sudden, if we don't win that game, that's 3 games without a victory. We could be as low as 12th by the weekend.
See what I'm saying? I'm relying on everyone else.
It's fine lines, and I have to admit I was really disappointed with that Wolves defeat, because that to me, and listen, we've still got to be positive and try and get top 4, but that to me was the end of top 4. Listen, mathematically it's not, and the players have to still fight for it, but the reality in my head said to me,
too much, isn't it?
It's too much. The gap's too big, and with the
drop points this now.
Yeah, with the teams we've got to play, bro. We've got Man City, we've got
a mad thing.
We're gonna. You've seen the February fixtures. We ain't gonna win every game. We're just not that team to do that. For me, it's the Europa League. We've got to win that Europa League. It's.
You prioritizing that from early now, then?
I mean, we spoke about this yesterday, and I think you was right in the sense that it's too early to prioritize it. In the sense that it's kind of. You can still play the league games at a high standard and play your strongest team. It's just if you're playing a league game and 3 days later, if we've got Benfica, do you actually have to take 1 or 2 bodies out and just say that Benfica game is bigger than... I know we play Manchester City.
Sandwich in between both of them.
In between. If that Benfica game takes a lot out of you, you might have to drop 1 or 2 for that Man City game. That's just the reality of it. So... at the moment, I would still go full strength in the league. But when those games are happening, I think the Europa League has to take priority over the league. So, in a cup competition, you only need a bit of luck, man. If 4 of the top teams go and draw each other and you get 2 of them knocked out. And we were quite unlucky to get a team as good as Benfica at this stage, really. When you look at some of the other teams.
Man got the luck they've draw, man. Who United got?
I think they've got Sociedad, I think. Who David Silva's at.
Sociedad doing well in La Liga. Yeah, man. I don't want to talk playing them into existence. So Sociedad ain't got no. Yeah. I'm kind of shook at them, man. Still.
We definitely. I mean, Tottenham got Wolfsburg, Man United got Sociedad, Leicester got Slavia Prague. I mean, we could have done with one of them, really, innit? Slavia Prague. But listen, I was speaking to someone the other day who watches Portuguese football, and he gave me a lot of hope, man. He was saying, listen, this is one of the worst. He said this is one of the worst Benficas in years. He was like, they might have names in there, like Ado Tarat and Vertonghen. Said they're kind of old and washed up, man. He was like, if you really go and get at Benfica, you can pick them off. I know they have got some good players, but I do think we're the favourites going into that game. I got to be honest. I would still fancy us to beat Benfica.
I'm sure. I'm not shook, but I'm shook because I feel some of the mistakes that occasionally gets highlighted in the Premier League,
Yeah.
And sometimes we get away. I think these European teams, they take advantage because I look at Benfica and I don't watch them religiously, but like you, I've spoke to people and I've tried to do my research. They do look a bit open. The problem is I saw us do that BS against Olympiacos. We should have killed the game after the first leg. So it remains to be seen. Horseplay, apologies for having your question up there. You said if he turns his form around, are you going to turn your opinion on him? Willian, that's football. If Willian plays well, you can't get onto him. You know, my opinion, I don't care about my opinion because I want to be right. I want the best for Arsenal Football Club. A blind man could see Willian right now is not leveled. If Willian scores a hat-trick tomorrow, he's the best thing since sliced bread for 24 hours. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, he'll be on the thumbnail and everything on Monday. We'll be celebrating him, you know.
Exactly, simple as that. There's nothing else to it, sort of thing, man. What are you expecting against Villa, anyways? And what would your lineup be for Villa to wrap this up?
I think it'll be a hard game. I know a lot of people have took. I suppose we've drawn hope on the fact that West Ham spun them as well. You know, not only did they beat, they outplayed them as well.
Martinez making mistakes as well.
Yeah, man. Do you know what I mean? Good timing for him to do that, but it'll be a tough game. You know, they're the team that probably beat us worse than anyone this season. They actually slapped us all over the place. I don't think they're as good as they were at that stage of the season. I think they're a little bit. I don't know. They've still got quality, but they don't look quite as good. Maybe teams are figuring them out a little bit. In terms of the lineup, please, Matt Ryan be in goal. That's all I can say, man. If it's Renarson, it's long.
That's my support, but it's peak.
It's long. He'll have my full support, but anything in the corners, I'm worried for him. So Ryan,
anything that goal, not even corners, but anything for him. To be fair, it was decent.
The Man City one was straight through his hands.
Oh yeah, brother. This see what I'm talking about. It's straight at him. Nah.
So, I mean, Tierney, it doesn't sound like he's going to be back from what Arteta was saying. But
he's got another injury, apparently. Something different.
This guy, man, this Tesco bag's just breaking down every minute, bro. So we're going to get stuck with... Because I think everyone wants to see Cedric right back and Tierney at left back.
Facts.
Centre-backs would be, Gabriel and Holding, I think, definitely. Midfield's an interesting one because I'm not sure, but... I want to see Ceballos and Thomas Partey. I don't know if I would do it for this game, but
probably not the game to switch up things like that.
Yeah, you can't do it at this stage. And Villa are very strong in midfield with McGinn and Barkley and that. So we'll go Xhaka and Partey. I would play Odegaard, you know.
I was just about to ask you that, but you beat me to it. What's your thinking behind that? Because for me, I did a preview yesterday. I'm half-hearted. Like, I want to see Odegaard. I think now's the time, but I think Smith Rowe is becoming like not Saka, but it's like you can't really drop them man there sort of right now. Saying that, he does look a bit tired. He does look like, So what's your feelings behind that, or what specifically is pushing you for the Odegaard one?
I would play him. I think sometimes, especially when a player's come from a top level, let's face it, this guy's come from Madrid. I know he hasn't played many games there. We had a great season last year in La Liga. And listen, we brought him here to play. And for me, rather than bringing him on for 15, 20 minutes at the end of the game, start him. Let's see what he's about. If he looks tired, take him off after 60. I think Smith Rowe struggled against Wolves. I don't think that was one of his better games. I was surprised he kept on.
I thought he'd be the one that came off when we
went. Yeah, we said this yesterday. I would have taken him off, not Lacazette. I think when you're down to 10 men, you need a striker. He played false nine. He did look tired. He's played a lot of games in a short period of time. And Villa are very physical as well. You know, Tyrone Mings, Douglas Luiz, you know, they're a physical side. I would give Odegaard a start. I would give him that number 10 role, put Smith Rowe on the bench and give him something different to deal with. And then out wide, for me, I'm not changing it. Facts. And this is what I want to see from Mikel Arteta. Don't crumble to the fact that Aubameyang is waiting in the background.
And your captain and them things there.
Listen, we all love Aubameyang. We all respect him. We know what he's done. But ultimately, football is about what you're doing right now. Pepe's having the best spell of his Arsenal career. Don't drop him for Aubameyang. Saka, you can't drop him anyway.
Even if you wanted to, he saved
it. If you wanted to, you can't drop him. And then you play Lacazette. He's the link man. He's the guy that at the moment, you know, makes it easier for you to link up with. So, yeah, for me, that would be the team. Pepe's got to start. And then you've got the likes of Aubameyang, Ceballos, Martinelli. You've got quality on the bench there to bring on. So, yeah, that would be my team. I think we can beat Villa.
I think we should be able to beat Villa. I know they're going to want revenge. I know they're going to want to do the double like Wolves over us. So let's not allow them. My lineup's basically the same as yours, man. If Tierney's fit, Tierney goes at left back, Cedric plays right back, centre half, personally holding Gabriel. Midfield, you know, I agree with you. On paper, Ceballos and Partey should be the one that gives us a bit of variety. But right now, it's probably just Xhaka and Partey to go with. Smith Rowe and Odegaard is the hardest one for me because I agree with you. You know, we've got man for 4 months. You know, he's not here for 4 years. We need to see a return on our investment. He is under no illusion. He has to hit the ground running. He's had a couple of days to train with us now. At the end of the day, it's football, innit? It's not rocket science. You're playing football. It's a different kit. Jump on the pitch and do your business. The problem I'd go against him is obviously he hasn't played Premier League apart from the United one. So there might be that culture shock. And also, as much as Smith Rowe might have been poor against Wolves or like someone said, United, when I look at the statistics for pressing, I know Odegaard's up there, but I haven't seen him in an Arsenal shirt. So I'm looking at Smith Rowe. I'm looking at Lacazette. We're gonna need to have to do a lot. You know, I expect to see Lacazette be a hold-up man, but I'm gonna need you to drop because, as you said, Douglas Costa snapping in, Scott McGinn, sorry, or whatever his name is, McGinn, working very hard. We know what Grealish is on. We know what Barkley's on. We know Matty Cash is going to go forward on that right back spot. So it's going to be a game for running and dynamism. And Smith Rowe has shown me that he's on that. You know, Odegaard, a big part was his pressing stats, and you're not going to get into this Arteta team not doing that. So that's the hardest one. But I can't lie, you're converting me to say, you know what, Smith Rowe, hold the bench for this game. Let's see what Odegaard's on. Sort of
do you know what though? I'll be surprised if he does it though. I think he might look at it and think we got Leeds at home the following week. That's probably an easier game to start.
Home tie, innit?
Villa Park, 12:30 kickoff. You know, with McGinn and all them man in midfield. I'm not sure he'll risk it, but I would potentially try it. But I'm not sure he will do. But I just want to see him play, man. You know, Lingard was basically wrote off by everyone. He played for West Ham the other day in that number 10 role as well, and they couldn't live with it. They couldn't get near him. He should have scored a hat trick. So yeah, I would play Odegaard just because, you know, I want to see what the guy's about, man.
Exactly. And last question, Jaden is saying not Aubameyang centre half. This is like what Curtis is talking about. You know, if everybody's in form, of course, you know, Lacazette's going to have to hold it and drop out the team for Aubameyang, or something's going to happen on the left. But fundamentally, we all say people need to play their way into the squad. Aubameyang hasn't been doing the business and has been out the squad. It's the same way David Luiz doesn't get sent off and he plays all right. We're not talking about Gabriel. So at least until somebody falls off, I think Aubameyang has to hold on the bench. And like South London said, apparently Ryan will be fit for the weekend. That's music to my ears. I'd prefer him ahead of Runnison. I don't think Matt Ryan is levels like that, but he's significantly better than Runnison. And at least Ryan's played in the Premier League. Runnison, you know, it's always a bad mixture when somebody's not got the ability and also they're clearly like scared and their mentality is not quite there and they're overawed. So for me, that's enough reasons to take him out of the game, really. What's your score predictions?
Score prediction. I'm going for the safety score, man. The safe win, which is always 2-1. It's like, yeah, I think we'll win, but they'll probably score. I can't forget what Grealish did to Bellerin and Holding earlier in the season, man. He sent them into the shop. I'm telling you, that was ridiculous. But I do think we'll beat them. I've watched Villa the last few games. They don't quite look the same. I feel like they're running out of ideas a little bit. It's like, but they are dangerous at the same time. Ross Barkley's a good player. Watkins, McGinn, Grealish.
Even finding form now.
Yeah, so we're going to have to do a job, but we need to score first. I did just check that out about Matt Ryan. There are reports saying they think he'll be available. I mean, it's interesting. We're all saying we want Matt Ryan, obviously, because we're desperate. But we actually don't know how good he is. Because
we don't know. He's probably shaky as well. Like, let's be real. Again, I don't know, but he's lost his place in the Brighton team. Maybe that's because of the contract. You lost your place. Like, if you can't get to Brighton, this is a madness. And also, he's not fit. So he won't be fully fit. So I don't know. I'd rather take the chance with Matt Ryan than Runnison. I think some man only need to show you one game to know they're not levels. Like, and I think Runnison has showed me enough, bro. We were sitting there and talking about the Europa League before that City game that confirmed it. He shouldn't be he should not be at this football club. He shouldn't. How do you manage to be worse than Matt Macy? You got to be very, very special.
You
Very
are.
special.
You are, man. Another brown envelope job, man. I'm telling you.
Oh man said brown envelope. Oh man, but Curtis, I've loved having you here. You on your own channel later today?
Yeah, I'll probably do a preview later on, man. Yeah, I'll get something going later.
Calm, and I know you do the watch along as well as me tomorrow, so make sure you're checking for either one of those people. Make sure you're hitting the like button. Can't imagine you're not subscribed to me or Curtis Shaw, but if you haven't, go and do those things right now, people. And yeah, man, we'll catch up next week. We'll probably get 2 shows done next week. Just make sure you're paying attention, people. Make sure you're hitting the like button as well. So yeah, we're out. Safe.